I gotta be honest with you, this is one of those moments where you kinda stop and think, wait, are we really about to change that much? Because right now there are two completely different things happening around this team, and both of them hit deeper than it looks at first glance. One of them is about something we have gotten used to over the last few years, something that honestly became part of how this team built its identity. The other one goes back to a moment that still does not sit right with a lot of us, and now the league just stepped in and basically said, yeah, that should have been handled differently. And I am telling you right now, one of these could change how this team prepares for the season, and the other might have straight up changed the outcome of a game we all remember. We gotta talk about both because this is not just random off-season noise. This is the kind of stuff that quietly shapes what this team is gonna look like when it really matters. So before we get into it, if you are a real Lions fan, go ahead and hit that, subscribe to the channel. Lions Nation Report is just getting started. We are pushing for 3,000 subscribers, and if you have been riding with this team like we have, you already know this is the place to be. Let's start with the first one because this one kind of flew under the radar, but the more you think about it, the bigger it gets. The Detroit Lions are making a major change to their training camp process in 2026, and for the first time since 2021, they are not going to have any joint practices. And if you have been following this team closely, you already know that is not a small tweak, that is a shift in philosophy. Joint practices have been a huge part of how Dan Campbell and this staff prepare the team. This was not just about getting reps, this was about intensity, competition, and identity. Back in 2023, Dan Campbell explained why they value this so much during an interview on 97.1 The Ticket with Stoney and Jansen. He said those sessions gave them 2 great days of work, a ton of reps over 40 in one day, and because of that, they felt comfortable sitting starters in preseason games. Think about that for a second. The Lions basically used joint practices as a replacement for preseason action for their core players. That is how much they trusted it. And it was not just physical preparation. The team has said multiple times that those practices help them mentally understanding how other competitive teams operate, how intense things get, and how sharp you need to be. So now the question is, why walk away from that? And more importantly, what happens next? Because if there are no joint practices, something has to fill that gap. Either they start playing starters in preseason games again, which comes with obvious injury risks, or they keep sitting them. And now you are going into the season with less real competition reps than before. That is not a small decision. That affects timing, chemistry, and how ready this team is in week 1. And at the same time this is happening, you have conversations about roster needs popping up too, like the Lions potentially targeting Akeem Messidor in the draft to help solve the edge rusher situation. So this is not just about practice structure, this is about how they are building the whole team. Now let's move to the second story because this one hits different. The NFL has officially approved a rule change, and this would have directly impacted one of the Lions' most frustrating losses last season. We are talking about that game on December 21st when the Lions lost 29-24 and the situation involving Pittsburgh Steelers wide receiver DK Metcalf. If you remember, there was that moment where Metcalf swiped at a fan in the stands, a guy named Ryan Kennedy. Multiple camera angles caught it and everybody saw it. But the problem was the on-field officials did not see it live, and because of that, no flag was thrown, and under the rules at the time, the league could not step in to disqualify him. So DK Metcalf stayed in the game, and in the second half alone, he had 3 catches for 37 yards. Now, the NFL Competition Committee stepped in, and the league approved a new rule that allows league personnel to consult with on-field officials for disqualifications, even if it was not called live, and they can now throw a flag after the fact. Meaning under this new rule, Metcalf likely gets ejected from that game. And that changes everything. Momentum, matchups, play calling, all of it. And the story does not stop there, because the situation between DK Metcalf and Ryan Kennedy turned into something much bigger. Kennedy is now seeking over $100 million in damages in Wayne County Circuit Court, claiming false accusations were made about him, specifically that he used slurs during the incident. Then you have former receiver Chad Okosinko-Johnson saying on his podcast Nightcap that he heard from a source someone wearing number 4, which is Metcalf number, that Metcalf reacted because Kennedy used offensive language, including the N-word and C-word. And Kennedy came out publicly denying all of that, saying those claims are false and have damaged his reputation, his family, his business, and even put his safety at risk. So this is not just a football story anymore. This turned into something serious, legal, and messy. But from a football standpoint, the Lions got hit by a situation where the rules did not allow the right call to be made, and now the league is correcting it. So when you step back and look at both of these stories together, one is about how the Lions prepare for the season, something that could affect performance, chemistry, and health. The other is about a moment where the team may have been directly impacted by a rule gap, and now the league is correcting it. And when you are talking about a team that is in a Super Bowl window right now, these details matter. Every edge matters. Every decision matters. Because we are not rebuilding anymore, we are trying to win it all. So now it is on Dan Campbell, Brad Holmes, and this entire organization to make sure these changes, whether they chose them or not, do not slow this team down when it matters most. And as fans, we are going to be watching all of it closely. But I want to hear from you, how do you feel about the Lions dropping joint practices? And do you think that DK Metcalf situation actually cost Detroit that game? Drop your thoughts in the comments, let's talk about it. And honestly, if I am being real with you, I am a little torn on this. On one side, I trust Dan Campbell, I really do. This coaching staff has earned that. They took this team from being a punchline to being one of the toughest, most respected teams in the league. So if they believe cutting out joint practices is the right move, there is a reason behind it. But at the same time, I do not love it. Those joint practices felt like our edge. That was where this team got sharp. That was where you saw the intensity, the fights, the competition, iron sharpening iron. It felt like we were getting real football before the season even started. Now I worry a little, because if the starters do not play in preseason, and now you are also removing joint practices, where are those high-level reps coming from? Are we going to come out a little rusty in week 1? Are we risking starting slow in a season where we cannot afford that? That is what is in the back of my mind. Now on the other story, I am not going to sugarcoat it that DK Metcalf situation still bothers me, because we all saw it. Everybody saw it, and the fact that nothing happened in that moment that hurt, especially in a game that close. You are talking about a 5-point game late in the season, every possession matters, and a player who probably should have been ejected stayed in and contributed. That is frustrating. Now am I saying that is the only reason the Lions lost? No, but it definitely did not help. And the fact that the NFL had to come back later and fix that rule that tells you everything you need to know. We were on the wrong side of that. So overall, one move makes me a little uneasy about how we are preparing. The other just feels like one of those too late situations where the damage is already done. But here is the thing, and this is what it always comes back to with this team. None of that matters if the Lions take care of business this season. Because if this team is really what we believe it is, if this is truly a Super Bowl caliber roster, then they overcome stuff like this. No excuses, just wins. That is the standard now. And if you are rocking with the channel, go ahead and like the video, subscribe. Lions Nation Report is still growing. We are pushing for 3,000 subscribers. And if you really live and breathe this team like we do, you already know you are in the right place. Thanks you for watching this video. See you soon.